setup for Windows Server and also just for Windows 10. On the right here is just a Windows 10 machine, and on the left here is Server Operating System. Alright, so in here, this is where we're going to do most of our work, but we will go into the Windows 10 machine over here just so we can correlate and so I can show you what is going on with the Active Directory users and accounts. Now, if you are working for a company that allows you access to this, you won't necessarily have a direct access to the server itself like this, meaning that you remotely log into it and you have Windows desktop experience like this. You would probably do it with a install of what is called Windows Administrative Tools. You see how they show up here on the left side? You can install this as, you can think of it as a plugin and extension of your Windows 10 machine. So you can see all of these things that are part of Windows Administrative Tools. This does not come pre-installed with Windows 10. However, you can install it so that way you can remotely access this server. So here it is. For example, here is Active Directory users and computers. What is the other thing we can concentrate on? DHCP and DNS in the future videos. So you can have this module, these tools installed over here on the Windows 10 machine. And for those reasons, you can simply go to Google in your Windows 10 machine, type in google.com and type in download Windows Administrative Tools like this. And it says here, this is directly from Microsoft Remote Server Administration Tools for Windows 10. So if you click on here, it will take you to a download page where you can download it. And here it is. You simply select download and then you install it. Pick the operating system version that you have. If you have a 64-bit, you select 64-bit, select next. It's going to download it, and then once it's downloaded here in a second, we're going to install it. And as long as your computer is part of the same domain, it should let you install and control the same thing. So you just click accept while you're installing it, and it's just going to take a little bit here to install Windows Administrative Tools, so that way you can remotely access them. Of course, when you start doing tech support, this is one of the first things you would be able to do. Alright, so we have installed Windows Administrative Tools on our Windows 10 computer. So this is our regular computer we're going to be using. Again, the point of this is so that we can access the server remotely, so we don't have access necessarily, nor do we want to constantly log into the server operating system. This way we can remotely access it. So here it is, Windows Administrative Tools, Active Directory users accounts. So this is Windows 10 machine, and here is the server, which has the same thing. Alright, well, let's just start with the server, and then we're going to go from there. So here we go, Active Directory users and computers. So under Windows Administrative Tools, open up Active Directory users and computers. So the first thing you would see here is just says newdomain.com, and the reason I named it like that, just so that you know that this computer here, as in this server here that we're controlling, is a domain, right? And every computer that's joined that domain is part of that domain. So you can correlate this with like a country. You can assume that a domain, a computer domain, is like a country, and that country controls everything that's inside of that country. In this case, domain is for example, a country, and that country is going to control all the computers and users that are part of that domain. Okay, and first thing we're going to start with is actually computers. So if you just expand this and you see these folders, right? You can consider them folders, but they're also known as OUs, organizational units. But they're folders, right? I mean, let's be honest. But if you hear somebody talk about OUs, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about organizational units. And you can add more, and you can add new ones, this and that here. But we're going to stick with the default ones because this is going to make it easier to understand. And if there is a need, and if people are interested in more advanced videos, we can certainly expand on that. So let's start with computers, like I said, and there are a couple of ways of controlling a computer that's on a domain. Well, why did you do this to begin with? Well, because when you add a security, restrictions, permissions, and software deployments. It also tells you where the computer is on the network itself. For example, you can put description of it, this and that. Okay, let's get into it before I get more confusing. So I'm just going to right click the computer here where it says computers folder, and I'm going to select new computer, and then I'm going to create a new computer name. You can do the same thing if you right click inside of the white area, as long as you have computer selected. So I'm going to name it work -001. So this is just a naming scheme, just in case there is a 002, 003, 4, 10, 20, 100, right? So this is just the point of that. And we can just leave all of this as default. We're just going to click OK. So did we add a computer to an Active Directory right now? No, not yet. All we've done is create a name for that computer. So there's a different way of doing this as well. It just depends on how you prefer to do it. Sometimes you want to do it this way, and sometimes you want to do it the other way. The other way is literally just going to that computer that you want to join it to a domain, and as long as it's on the same network, you can create that name on that computer and then add it to here as well. So, but let's start with it. We're going to start with a pre-created host name, or a computer name, or a workstation name, however you want to call it. I like to call them host names. So we've got one that we've pre-made. Now we're going to join a Windows 10 machine using this name to this Active Directory and to this domain. We're going to join it, and we're going to use that name. Okay, so here's our Windows 10 machine. And by the way, we can't use our tools, our admin tools, until we are connected to the same domain, because we need to use domain administrator privileges in order to use Active Directory users on a remote computer, right? Okay, I hope you're still with me. So anyways, let's get back to this. And you can add a computer or join a computer to a domain if you go to System Properties. Windows 10 just likes to come up with about, and here's just one way of going about it. If you were to rename this PC, it's not enough. So this is the about section of Windows 10. If I click rename this PC, and let's say I name it whatever we just put in there, work-0001, it's not going to add it to the domain at all. All it is just renaming the computer. So this is not going to work. So what we have to do is join it to a domain. So if you scroll down and go to Advanced System Settings, and this is why I was starting to type System Properties, mainly because I'm used to Windows 7 for a long time. I've been around for a while doing tech support, and Windows 10, they like to hide things, and things are not different. Anyways, I digress. Here's System Properties. If you go to Computer Name, which is the first tab, and then click on Change at the bottom here where it says this, to rename this computer or change its domain or workgroup, click Change. Here is where we're going to change the name and add it to the domain at the same time. So what was the name again? Work-0001. So we're going to use a predetermined preset name that's already existing on Active Directory, and then we're going to assign it to this computer. Again, there's another way of doing it, which we're going to do next after we're done with this. So let's go back to the server just to double check. Look, it says work-0001, and that's what we have on our Windows 10 machine. And down here we have to change the member of, meaning we want to make it a member of domain. So what do I type in here? Well, we're going to have to type in the name of the domain. So remember, we talked about this. A domain is basically like a country, and everything within that country, within that domain, is being controlled by that domain, regardless of which aspects are present there. In this case, the aspect of control is Active Directory users and computers. So in this case, we need to add the computer to the new domain.com. So this is what we're going to have to type in. New password for an account with permission to join the domain. So I need administrator account, which is under users here, that will allow me to add this computer to this domain. So under users, like me and you and everybody else, I need to have that login information from any of these that are in here. Luckily, I have administrator login right here, which is what I'm going to use. So let's go back to computers folder here just so we can keep track. And I'm going to back to the Windows 10 machine. I'm going to type in my login ID, administrator, and I'm going to use my password for the administrator that's allowed to, that's part of the domain that's going to allow this computer to join the domain. Here it is. Welcome to newdomain.com. And we're going to have to reboot the computer for changes to take effect. And it'll tell you here changes will take effect after you restart the computer. So we're going to restart it right away. All right, so here we are. We have rebooted the computer. Now it should be the part of the domain. I don't know if you noticed, but my login ID was there was computer 1. We're going to change that. We're going to actually use a domain login now that we are joined into a domain. So let's double check a couple of different things. So let's go to command line just to prove that this was done. We're going to do ipconfig/all. And the reason I'm doing this is because I want you to see that DNS is added and it's part of the new domain. It says here hostname. Here we go, hostname right here. So this is the computer name now, work0001. Primary DNS suffix is newdomain.com. And I just want you to see here that DNS is listed there as well as ATT local, which is just so I can have access to the internet. And it's newdomain.com. Again, we're going to talk about DNS here in the future video. This is just the first part of it, and I'm going to explain why this here is important. Otherwise, if we didn't have access to this DNS server, we wouldn't have been able to add this computer to this domain at all. It would not work because it would not be able to connect. Anyways, that's in the future. So we're going to go to About Your PC again. And I'm going to see that this computer is now added to the domain. It says here, device name. I don't like how they keep changing. Whether they want to call it host name, device, workstation, PC, whatever. It's the same thing. Anyways, it's work0001. And we can see the full device name is work001.newdomain.com. Why? Because now this computer is joined this new domain. And this is how the domain sees it, and this is how it's recognized on the network as such when it comes to managing part of it. I mean, it still works 0001 on the network, on the physical network, but when it comes to the domain and what controls it, this is how it's seen by the domain. And then if we scroll down here and go to the advanced system settings and go back to computer name, we can see that this has applied as well. Now we can add another computer. There's a different way to do it, so we don't have to create a host name ahead of time. But let me just show you what happened here since we've added this computer to the new domain. So we'll go back to our server, and this is instant. I have not edited or anything, made any changes. This is just me live. So I'm going to right-click this computer. Well, first of all, you can see that this computer is active. If this icon here was a little computer icon, if I was to remove this Windows 10 that we've just added, if I was to remove it, this icon would have a down arrow pointing down that it's not online. So we're just going to right click it, then we're going to go to properties, and I'm just going to show you that we see the same thing here as we saw on the Windows 10 machine, right? It says work00.01.newdomain.com. So before the next thing I want to talk about, which is important for somebody who starts to work for a company, is a member of. This is the big part of controlling the computer itself. But let me just show you another cool thing that you can do. Now that we've added this computer, now remember I just created a name and it wasn't connected until we went to that Windows 10 machine to do it and added it manually. If I right click and select manage, we can now manage that remote computer. This is what's going on here. Look. domain.com, and you make sure they change this to computers, right? Make sure you change this computers. If you leave it at users, where you're looking for users, right? So we're searching for a computer. I'm just going to type in partial name. I'm just going to click work, and here it is. Here's our work 00.1 station, and if I right click it, I can go to manage, and we are now managing that computer again when it comes to these things that you see here. So we can look at the device manager. Well, we'd have to make some adjustments here, but potentially we can look at the device manager, event viewer, disk management here. It's going to take it there. It is disk management here. So this is the remote computer. Now this is the same thing that we can do if we were to connect remotely to a computer. So here's computer management, and we can do this as long as it's part of the same network. Potentially do this. We'll connect to another computer, right? And then you have to type in work dash 0001. We can click browse, and you can see do it like that. Or we can just type in work. Sorry, I'm doing it twice. I apologize. Work 1, and here it is. We're connected the same way. This is the same thing as me just simply right-clicking and managing, right? So let me just kind of do this here. This computer management is present on every computer. This is present on every computer. So if you type in computer management, you can connect to other computers, right? Right now, this is just local, but if I want to connect to another computer, or for example, let's do browse this time, work dash 001, right? And do all of this. You see how it found it. Click OK, and now I'm managing the remote computer. Instead of doing all of this, see how it's confusing, right? We can just go to Active Directory, find that computer, work, just right click and manage. So it's very useful when you're managing multiple computers. Okay, so that's cool. And let's talk about the next thing here, and that is members off. So if I right click this computer and go to properties and go to members off, what this talks about is basically computer permissions. You can set up what they call the group policy objects. These group policy objects can have preset rules, instructions, or if you want to call it programming. They can put restrictions on the computer, for example. Like, for example, you can block certain websites, you can block certain, folders from being viewed. You can put a lot of restrictions on the computer if that's what you wanted to do. You can also deploy software. So if you can, well, first of all, let's do one when it comes to group policy security. Group policy is what it's called, right? I'm gonna add one. I have one that's already made, and it's for our group that's called for HR. So I'm just gonna type in HR. So again, I went to add, and I'm gonna make this computer part of HR. I'm just gonna click check name. This basically just tells me that it actually found it, and it won't work if it doesn't find it. And I'm gonna click OK. So this group has certain aspects of it that are going to place either restrictions on this computer, or they're going to install software that's part of this group. So that's the only thing I want you to kind of consider here. So what happens is, if you want to install new software, for example, onto this computer, you can do so by adding a group policy object to it, making it member of that group policy of that group that receives specific software. So let's say you have a group policy object that installs Chrome. You can just type in Chrome and then check name, and it's going to find it, in case I don't have it installed here. But it would find it, and then it would be the same difference as we've done with HR. You click OK, and it would just add it. Again, I haven't created this group policy object, but it would come up just like this HR one. And then what would happen is the computer would get Chrome installed on this computer. Chrome, Zoom, any software that you can think of, right? All of this can be set up. So that's the whole point of member off. Okay, and then of course, if you want to make sure that you click apply if you want this group policy object, whether it's security group or just the regular group that installs programs, make sure you click apply and then OK. Okay, I'm just going to cancel out of this. All right, we're going to remove this one, and I'm going to show you how what happens actually when I leave the domain on the domain computer that has joined the domain. So this is the same computer. This is the Windows 10 machine. I'm just going to take it out of it, and I'm just going to type in work group. This is what comes up default on the computer itself. So I'm just going to click OK. I'm going to click through all of this. I'm going to reboot, and now you suddenly see that the Active Directory can tell that I have removed the computer. And now I have to use my credentials again for the domain so I can remove it. Okay, I'm going to remove it, and then once we reboot, we can see that the computer is no longer part of the domains. All right, so click reboot. So we're going to watch this in real time. You'll see this icon change here. All right, so it's rebooting and it should come up here. I may have to refresh. So yeah, let me just go ahead and refresh here. So I'm going to do, where's my refresh here? Here it is, action, refresh. You see now this tells us that the computer is down. That means it's the domain itself knew that this was part of the domain, knew that this computer was part of the domain, that it was at some point joined to the domain, and now it's basically telling you it's down. It could be offline, right? As far as Active Directory is concerned, it's thinking that this computer is either offline or no longer part of the domain, right? And this is why you get the error. So this is the good indicator for you to see. Now let's see if you were to do a search for it, do you actually get that icon as well? Well, let's find out, right? So we're going to do work, let's get the computer, and see, this is very important to know. When you do a search for it, you just do a search for it, it doesn't tell you that there's something wrong with a computer like this. Unless you right click and then you try to manage it, and you suddenly realize, oh, you know, it's broken, right? Something's wrong. And so for those reasons, you want to actually navigate to the folder where you know that where the computer will be. And so you can see that there's something wrong. Now there are tools like Microsoft Endpoint that allow you to do the same type of information. So you can install Microsoft Endpoint Manager on your computer, and you can search computers and to view this type of information as well. Again, that's a future video. You gotta let me know in the comments whether you're interested in that. Okay, so our Windows 10 computer has rebooted once more. So I'm gonna log back into it, and then we're gonna join it with a completely different name. And this time we are not going to go in here and ahead of time create a new computer. We are not going to do this. This is because I want to show you that you can actually add computers to a domain as long as there is a communication with the domain and you have administrative privileges to do so for the domain. You can join a brand new computer without having to go through this part of it here. Okay, so we're now going to do everything when it comes to creating and adding a new computer name and adding to the domain here through this manual. Alright, so I'm going to go back to advanced settings here, advanced system settings, and as you can see here, computer name is still work 001, however we're not part of the domain anymore. We're going to click change, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to change it to work group work 0002. Right? We're going to say 0002. Okay? And then we're going to type in newdomain.com. So we're going to make it a member of domain again. So this is the name of the domain, newdomain.com. And now I'm telling the domain, I want to join this computer to our domain, but I want to use this other name, which is 002. Again, we're going to go back to the server itself. It's not in here. It's not in here. 002 is not in here. Okay. I'm going to click OK. And it's going to now ask me for administrator privileges. Administrator. All right. Click OK. Here we go. Welcome to newdomain.com. Now before okay, so I'm going to click OK and I'm going to switch to the thing. Okay, well, all right, fine. Let's do a reboot here. I'm going to switch to this here, and let's do action refresh. And here it is. Here is our work 0002. You see, so you can do it a couple of different ways. Depends on how things are done with your company. I just want you to know that it works both ways, and you can do it both ways. You know, there are some specific things, very niche things, in which case you want to do, you want to create postings ahead of time, but in some cases you don't necessarily have to. Anyway, I'm not going to make that too complicated. I just want to show you that it's possible. Okay, so that's that part of it. Okay, all right, now, so you've noticed that for all of these things that I've been doing, I've been just using a regular administrator login, which comes with domain. So if I click on users, here's the account that I was using to add this computer to the domain, which is not a good idea at all. It's not a good idea. For those reasons, we're going to have to create a new user that will give me administrator privileges. Alright, so let's go ahead and do this. We're just going to right click users, and just to keep it simple, so this is users folder, OU if you will, and this is just a default one, and we're going to organize this a little bit here, but that's okay. Let's go right click users, just a placeholder for now. I'm going to select new, and of course you guessed that we're going to create a new user. And we're going to create a new user called Kobuman. Why not? That's my alias here on YouTube. And I'm going to just use Kobuman as the login ID. I'm going to click next. I'm going to set my new password. There's going to be a temporary password. Okay. It says here user must change the password next logon. We're going to see that because we're going to log in with this to the Windows 10 machine. I'm going to click next, and I'm going to click finish. Now, I want this account to have more than just regular standard login. And for those reasons, I'm going to give it administrator privileges. So there are a couple of ways of doing this. Now, we're going to do this the way you would normally do it in a business environment that you already started working in. So I don't want you to think about it how it works, at least not for now, although I will explain it. Now, I want to kind of organize this because I don't want this administrator account to be just in this default here. I wanted to move it to a different OU or a different folder, if you will. And I just so happen to have a folder for this under the main controller, and there's one here called tech support. So I'm going to move that user to tech support, and I'm just going to find Kobuman, or you can just search for him, this and that. But here he is on the bottom. I'm just going to right click, and then we're going to select remove. And then we're going to select the main controller here. I'm going to add it to tech support. So this is just a way to organize it. However, notice here in tech support group, there's also a security group, right? Security group that gives us, right? That will give us administrator privileges. So the way this is designed is actually, if I right click Kobuman, and then I go to properties, and then I go to member off. So right now, this is different from controlling the computer. The main thing here you can do is related to security, right? To security. So we're going to click add. I'm going to type in tech support here just to search for it. And this security group will grant me administrator access, admin privileges. So if I click OK, apply, suddenly Kobuman has this privilege, right? So instead of having to manually do this and that, you would just create one security group, and then you just add people to that security group without having to go in and make these manual changes. So what do I mean with this? If I go to my Windows 10 computer, and now we know that I am indeed logged in as Kobuman here, right now. I am logged in as Kobuman. So you would think that now I would have administrator privileges, but that's not yet the case. Normally, what you want to do is, in order to get administrator privileges on the local computer, you would have to go in and edit local user users and groups. So here it is. So this is a security policy on the local level, on the local computer. So normally, without using security groups, like I just added to it, without having to do that, you would have to go in here, select groups, and select administrator group on the local computer, on the local level. So you would manually have to do it. You have to double click on this, and then I would have to go in here and add Kobuman as an administrator to this computer, and then allow him to be part of this. And this is not going to work because he doesn't have administrative privileges yet. You see that? It says access denied because it hasn't replicated the security group that I've added Kobuman to, which is this here. It hasn't replicated at local level, meaning that it hasn't replicated and added Kobuman in here automatically. And I will show you how to do this. So I'm going to cancel out of this so you can see what happens. Again, this is at local level. That security group here is designed to replicate this action here. You go into groups at local level, administrator, and then add that administrative privileges to that. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go back to the server here, and then we're going to look up that computer. Right? We're going to look up this computer. Right? We're going to do find. We're going to look them up. We're just going to pretend like we don't know where it's at. So we're just going to type in work. And we are logged into work 2. So we're going to right click, manage. We're going to right click, manage. And now we are remotely managing. We are bypassing here. Right now we don't have this Windows 10. We don't have ability to make changes in here. We do not have ability to make changes here right now as logged in as Kobuman on this Windows 10 machine. But we can make changes over the domain, through this server, because we are controlling this computer because it's part of our domain. So here is the same thing we're looking at over here, is that we're remotely connected to that computer. Let me just expand this so this is crystal clear. I apologize. And I'm sorry for repeating myself, but I want you to understand this. Right now we are managing work 0002 remotely, and we're going to click on group and then select administrators here. Right? So this is the same thing we're watching here. Right? This is the same thing as we were looking at here in Windows 10, except while we are in the server, we have the ability to add people into the administrative group at the local level on that computer. So instead of having to add Kobuman in here, just Kobuman, we could just add Kobuman here, and he'd be the only administrator that has the ability to make changes. Right? We're actually going to, guess what? We're going to add that entire group that is called tech support, that security group, tech support. We're going to add it to this, and then we're going to click apply, then we're going to click OK, and now if we go to our Windows 10 machine, and we double click this, we can now see that tech support security group is added in here, and automatically Kobuman is inside of that group. He's already inside of that group. Remember, we went in here, we looked at our tech support OU. Here's our tech support security group, members of that group, and we got Bob Smith, Kobuman, and Sandy Rose. So Kobuman is part of this security group. So all the people that are added in the picture here, they are going to have the same access. So instead of having to add people individually to local computers to have administrative privileges, you just add them to tech support security group. Security group. and this is going to get replicated automatically over the domain. It needs to be set up like that. The only reason I left it like this so it doesn't replicate automatically is just so I can show you and bring the point over so you can understand that. So now, under local computer, tech support security group has been added. Kobuman is part of that, and this is, you know, under the administrators. Under administrators, I'm going to click OK. And again, these changes came from the domain, from the Active Directory. And I'm just going to close this. And now Kobuman has administrator privileges. So if I open up, well, yeah, it should work. Let me just do a sign out and sign in real quick just to make sure that it does replicate. So this is one way to actually make sure that your domain changes are replicating, even if it's just as simple as changing the password for somebody. So I'm going to click on this PC. Well, let's just do this. Groups. Here we go. I'm going to go back to edit local users and groups. Remember, we couldn't do this earlier because we didn't have administrator access. But if I really wanted to, now I can go back into the administrators on the Windows 10 machine, and I can just add myself if I wanted to. Here we go, Kobuman. Again, I don't have to, this is redundant. I'm already part of this, but I just want you to show that admin part of it already worked. So apply, you see that now there are no errors. No errors because now I have inherited administrator privileges through this security group tech support that's been added here already. Right? So I can go in and remove Kobuman or whatever else I want, make any changes I want at local level. I hope that comes off as easy to understand, and I hope it's not too complicated for anybody to figure out. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it at that. So the point is just to have a group, and you keep adding people to the group, and this group is later on automatically added, or should be automatically added to all the computers that are part of this domain, part of this Active Directory. So again, this is something that can be set up later on so that these computers can just function like they are. This is just an example of